Hi everyone, this is Chris. This is Watercolor in 5. Thanks so much for stopping by. I'm glad you're stopping by today, and we're actually going to have a great time here. We're going to do a quick video on color selection for the watercolor artist. A lot of times watercolor artists, have a challenge with picking out the colors that they're going to use. I went through that myself too. When I was first starting out in watercolors, I was buying all different colors and, didn't know which ones to buy, which brands. So it was a challenge for me for my first couple years. I just sort of went with the flow of just, going to the paint store like everyone does, and we look around and we pick out some paints and we, just make do with what we pick out, and hopefully it looks okay. Then after a while, I started realizing that my best course of action was to get more organized with my paints. And I thought to myself, you know what, it made sense to do it at the time. I just kind of was starting to get frustrated with not keeping track of my colors, not knowing which ones I bought last time, and so on and so forth. You can imagine that can get a little bit, frustrating, trying to get the colors right, which ones to buy, all that. So I came up with, many years ago, I've been painting 10 years, or actually about 15 years, and about 10 years ago I got really, branched out, and I, went professional as an artist, decided to do this full time. And when I did that, I really got organized. I picked out a specific palette I was going to use, and I stuck with that palette. So this is what this video is about. Let's get right into it. The first thing on my list was knowing that I needed to make things more simple and more organized for myself. I figured I needed to stick with the same colors as my favorite artist or artist that I was following at that time, and using that color selection. And I also realized that if I did have additional colors that I wanted to try out, which is totally normal, we all occasionally we want to try a new color, or we see another artist somewhere else using a color and we think it looks really interesting, and that's fine. I would take those colors and then put them in a separate location in my palette that I was using, my paint box. And then eventually I, over some time, took that idea and just made it a little more interesting. I'll share that in a second. So again, we're going to stick with whoever the artist you're following for the most part, and that you want to create artwork similar to theirs or exactly like theirs. You would just take their palette of colors and try to use the same exact palette they use, paint box they use, the same colors, and in the same order. Chances are they have taken many years to get their colors organized in the way they like them, and then if you follow in their same process, you'll be sort of, instead of reinventing the wheel, you'll have your colors. Does that make sense? So we don't want to, as artists, reinvent the wheel. We want to follow others that are doing it, that have put a lot of thought into it, and this way we just capitalize and use and take advantage of their success and what they've done to help ourselves succeed more. So in that sense, we're going to stick with the colors of, again, your favorite artists, whoever you follow on a consistent basis. You're going to try to use their colors. So that's the main point of this video. And we'll stay on we'll go to our second point here, which is we're going to stay with those colors year after year, as long as you're painting with the same artist that you're following, or artists. You might have two different palettes that I actually years ago had about 3 or 4 palettes I used, and they were from different artists, and I would have them in the exact same order, same colors, the same exact palette. Whether it was a plastic palette or a paint box, metal paint box, I had the same exact thing, and I caught on to that early on, that I should do the same thing and not try to like recreate something on my own. I can just follow what they did and it's going to work good, at least work really good. So I did that, and I stuck with that year after year after year. So I always have my same colors constantly, all the time, same colors in my palette. 3, keep our colors the same order all the time in our paint box or our palette. That's another really crucial thing. If they're in the same order all the time and the same colors all the time, when you're painting, eventually after about a year, maybe 2, you'll have it memorized and you really won't even think about it. You'll start painting and you'll realize that you're not even really having to think about where your brush is going. Your brush will just, and your hand and your brush is going to automatically go to the paint that you need in your palette, because you've painted for a few years with that same order of colors and the same colors, and then you'll be free to think about your watercolor and focus on that, your painting, more closely, which will produce better paintings. And that's what we want. We want better paintings, right? Okay, so now just a couple things, for additional, and this is really kind of very important, actually. You'll easily identify your colors once you've memorized them after a few years of painting with them all the time. You'll memorize them and you'll actually have them locked into your mind, so that when you look out into nature or wherever you might, any kind of still life, or if you're looking at any subject matter, no matter what it is, you'll actually see your palette and you'll recognize the colors right away, and you'll say, oh, that's a olive green tree with a raw umber trunk on it, and that's a cerulean blue sky today, and maybe the next day it's going to be more of a cobalt blue sky. So you're going to see all these different colors, and you'll just automatically know what color in your palette is going to produce that look you're after when you're painting. So these things are really important. Let's focus on these things. And I just thought I'd show you my palette here. So I've done a number of palette videos just recently on Watercolor in 5. And this is a real important part of watercolor painting, is the palette and getting your colors all set. And these are the separate pans I was saying. If you want to try an experimental color, you can just take these separate pans, and they actually, we can take them out. It's a little bit, I have double stick tape under there. So I have double stick tape under there. I actually use a screwdriver to pry up these pans if I'm going to change them out or move them around. But these 4 here are 5 actually. These are all, colors I just added in because I needed a few more spaces for additional colors that I use, So just another fun way to think about, modifying things a little bit to help your setup of your colors. But all these colors around the outer edge, all here, and this one as well, all these colors are in the same, for the last 10 years, the same colors, same spaces. They're always in that same spot. And they're the same brands all the time, pretty much. I just use 2 different brands of paint, Holbein and Winsor Newton, mostly Winsor Newton, and some Holbein colors once in a while. But this is really, I don't even have to think about it when I'm painting. I just automatically glance at the palette, and it's just effortless to paint now at this point, after 10 years of using this same palette. So this will be a big help for your watercolor. You'll make much better paintings. And you'll have a lot, more fun, and you'll be more relaxed when you're painting too. You won't be stressing on where's your color you're looking for. It's going to be right there, the same spot every time. And I've learned this from some old masters that painted many years ago, that were highly successful in their art careers, and quite a number of them had the same things to say about their palettes, that they're always the same order of paints. And again, it becomes second nature to go and pick up our paints off our palette while we're painting, and it just helps our paintings become much better. All right, everyone, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next video. Happy painting, and let's think about our palettes, our paint, and we'll have much better watercolors. We'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.